You know that feeling when you wake up already exhausted? When your to-do list feels like a mountain you'll never climb? When every self-help guru tells you to wake up at 5 in the morning, run 10 miles, read 50 pages, and completely overhaul your life by Tuesday? Yeah, that advice nearly destroyed me too. What if I told you that the most powerful transformation method ever created asks you to do the opposite? To start so small it feels almost insulting. To change so gradually that nobody notices for months. To embrace a philosophy so counterintuitive that Western productivity culture tried to bury it for decades. This is the story of Kaizen, and if you stay until the end, you'll understand why the smallest step you take today might be the most important decision of your entire life. Before we begin, if you're tired of empty motivation and want real systems that actually work, subscribe and comment below with one thing you want to change. Just one. Because that's where this all starts. Now, let me tell you about a woman named Sarah. Chapter 1. The day everything changed. Sarah sat in her car in the parking lot of her office building. Engine off. Hands gripping the steering wheel. She had been sitting there for 17 minutes. Inside her bag was her phone, buzzing intermittently with messages she couldn't bear to read. On the passenger seat lay a self-help book she had purchased 3 weeks ago, still unopened. The cover promised transformation in 21 days. She had made it to day 4 before giving up. This wasn't the first time. Sarah was 32 years old. She worked in marketing for a mid-sized firm. On paper, her life looked fine. Decent salary, apartment in a nice neighborhood, a boyfriend who loved her. But inside, she felt like she was drowning in quicksand, and every attempt to climb out only pulled her deeper. Her mornings were chaos. She would wake up to her alarm after hitting snooze 4 times, rush through a shower, skip breakfast, arrive at work already frazzled. By lunchtime, she would be so overwhelmed that she'd eat at her desk while scrolling mindlessly through social media, comparing her life to everyone else's highlight reel. Evenings were no better. She would come home with grand plans to exercise, cook a healthy meal, work on her side project, read, meditate. Instead, she would collapse on the couch, order takeout, and binge-watch shows until her eyes burned. Then she would lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, hating herself for wasting another day. The guilt was suffocating. She had tried everything. She had joined a gym and quit after 2 weeks. She had started a journal and abandoned it after 5 entries. She had downloaded meditation apps that now sat unused on her phone. She had bought a planner and filled it with elaborate schedules that she never followed. Each failure reinforced the same belief. She was lazy, undisciplined, broken. Her boyfriend, Tom, had noticed. He didn't say much, but she could see it in his eyes. The concern, the quiet disappointment. Last week, he had gently suggested she see someone, a therapist. She had smiled and said she would think about it, but the suggestion felt like confirmation of what she already knew. She was failing at being a functional adult. That morning, sitting in her car, Sarah felt something break inside her. Not dramatically, not like a sudden realization, just a quiet, exhausted surrender. She couldn't keep doing this. She couldn't keep starting and stopping, promising and failing, hoping and collapsing. She pulled out her phone and typed into the search bar, "How to change when you have no willpower left." The results were predictable. Articles about discipline, videos about morning routines, ads for coaching programs. She was about to close the browser when she saw a comment thread on a forum. Someone had written, "I was exactly where you are. Then, I met Dr. Sato. He taught me about Kaizen. It saved my life." Kaizen. She had never heard that word before. She clicked. Chapter 2. The Mentor. Dr. Kenji Sato had a small practice in a quiet part of the city. Sarah almost didn't go. She had called on a whim, expecting a weeks-long wait for an appointment, but his receptionist had said he could see her the next day. The office was nothing like she expected. No sterile walls or corporate art. Instead, there were plants everywhere. A small fountain in the corner. Books lining the shelves in both English and Japanese. The air smelled faintly of green tea. Dr. Sato was in his late 60s, with silver hair and kind eyes behind simple glasses. He gestured to a comfortable chair near the window and sat across from her, not behind a desk. "Tell me why you're here," he said. Sarah hesitated. Then everything poured out. The failed gym memberships, the abandoned projects, the shame, the exhaustion, the feeling that she was fundamentally incapable of change. Dr. Sato listened without interrupting. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "Do you know what I hear?" he finally said. Sarah shook her head. "I hear someone who has been trying to climb a mountain by taking a single giant leap." She frowned. "I don't understand." Dr. Sato stood and walked to a small plant on the windowsill. It was a bonsai tree, meticulously shaped. "This tree is 40 years old," he said. "When I started shaping it, I did not cut away half the branches in one day. I did not force it into its final form in a week. I trimmed one small branch, then I waited, then I trimmed another, slowly, patiently, over decades. No, Kaizen, it means continuous improvement. Small changes. So small, they feel almost meaningless. But compounded over time, they create transformation that feels like magic." Sarah felt a flicker of something. Not hope exactly, more like curiosity. "So, you're saying I should just make small changes?" Dr. Sato smiled. "I'm saying you should make one change, so small that failure is almost impossible." "Like what? What is one part of your morning that causes you stress?" Sarah thought. "Everything. I wake up late. I rush. I skip breakfast. Choose one. The smallest one. I guess waking up. I hit snooze too many times." Dr. Sato nodded. "Then here is your task. Tomorrow morning, when your alarm goes off, I want you to sit up. That's all. Don't get out of bed. Don't check your phone. Just sit up. Can you do that?" Sarah almost laughed. "That's it? That's it. That seems too easy." "Good. That's the point. If it feels too easy, you can't fail. And if you can't fail, you'll actually do it. Will you try?" Sarah agreed, though she left the office feeling confused. Sitting up in bed wasn't going to change her life. But she had promised. And something about Dr. Sato made her want to keep that promise. Chapter 3. The Hidden Philosophy. The next morning, Sarah's alarm went off at 7. Her hand moved automatically toward the snooze button. Then she remembered. Just sit up. She pushed herself upright, sat on the edge of her bed. Her feet touched the floor. That was it. It felt absurd, but she had done it. The next morning, she did it again. And again. After 5 days, sitting up had become automatic. She wasn't even thinking about it anymore. When she returned to Dr. Sato the following week, she told him. He smiled. "Excellent. Now, do you notice anything different?" Sarah paused. "Actually, yes. I'm not hitting snooze anymore, and I feel slightly less rushed. That's because you've changed your identity. You are no longer someone who hits snooze. You are someone who sits up when the alarm goes off. The action is small, but the shift is profound." He leaned forward. "This is the first principle of Kaizen. We do not focus on results. We focus on systems. You did not try to become a morning person. You simply practiced sitting up. The identity followed the action." Over the next several sessions, Dr. Sato introduced her to more principles. He told her about Shoshin, the beginner's mind. Most people fail because they try to be perfect. They want to meditate for an hour when they've never meditated for 1 minute. Kaizen asks you to approach each new habit as a beginner. 1 minute is enough. 1 page is enough. 1 push-up is enough. He told her about Wa, the principle of harmony. Western culture treats self-improvement like war. You battle yourself. You fight laziness. You conquer weakness. But Kaizen says, work with yourself, not against yourself. If you hate running, don't run. Find movement you enjoy. If mornings are hard, don't force morning routines. Start where you are. He told her about motanai, the respect for wasted potential. You feel guilt about wasted time. But guilt paralyzes. Kaizen teaches us to honor the time we have by using even the smallest moments. 2 minutes of reading is not a failure because it's not 30 minutes. 2 minutes is honoring the moment. Each principle was paired with a micro-action. After mastering sitting up, she added one more step, drinking a glass of water. Then another, opening her journal and writing one sentence. Not a page. One sentence. The changes were so small that Tom didn't notice. Her coworkers didn't notice. But Sarah noticed. She started arriving at work calm. She started finishing small tasks instead of avoiding them. She started feeling something she hadn't felt in years. Momentum. Chapter 4. The First Fall. It happened in week 7. Sarah had been building her routine carefully. Wake up. Sit up. Drink water. Write one sentence. Make her bed. 5 tiny actions. They took less than 10 minutes combined. She had done them every day for 6 weeks. Then she got sick. It started as a sore throat on a Thursday. By Friday, she had a fever. She spent the weekend in bed, too exhausted to do anything. Monday came, and she was better, but the momentum was gone. Tuesday morning, her alarm went off. She lay there. Her body felt heavy. The routine felt distant, like something from another life. She hit snooze. By the end of the week, she had missed 5 days. The guilt returned, sharper than before, because this time she had tasted success, and losing it felt worse than never having it at all. She almost didn't go to her next session with Dr. Sato. When she finally walked in, she couldn't meet his eyes. "I failed," she said. Dr. Sato was quiet. Then he said, "Tell me, when you were sick, did you expect yourself to go to work?" "No. I was too sick." "But you expect yourself to maintain your routine?" Sarah blinked. "I don't know. I just feel like I should have tried." This is another principle of Kaizen, Hansei. It means reflection without judgment. You got sick. Your body needed rest. You did not fail. You adjusted. Now, you reflect. What do you learn? I don't know. You learn that routines are not chains, they are tools. And tools can be picked up again. The question is not whether you drop them. The question is, will you pick them up again today? Sarah felt something loosen in her chest. Can I? Of course. Do not try to do all 5 actions today. Just do one. Sit up. That's all. Can you do that tomorrow? She nodded. Dr. Sato wrote something on a small card and handed it to her. It was a Japanese phrase, Nana Korobi Ya Oki. What does it mean? Fall down 7 times, stand up 8. This is the soul of Kaizen. Progress is not linear. You will fall. The only failure is staying down. Chapter 5. Identity Shift. 3 months after Sarah first walked into Dr. Sato's office, something shifted. She was making her bed one morning when she realized she didn't have to remind herself anymore. She just did it. Not because she was motivated, not because she was forcing herself, but because that's who she was now. She was someone who made her bed. It sounds trivial, but it wasn't, because if she was someone who made her bed, what else was she? She started noticing other changes. She was someone who drank water first thing in the morning, someone who wrote in her journal, someone who took the stairs instead of the elevator, not because she had to, but because it felt natural. Dr. Sato called this shuhari, the 3 stages of mastery. First, you follow the rules rigidly. You sit up because I told you to. This is shu. Then, you adapt the rules. You realize you can add water, or journaling, or other actions. This is ha. Finally, you transcend the rules. You no longer need me or a system. You simply act from your new identity. This is Rai. Sarah was moving from shu to ha, but something deeper was happening too. One evening, Tom asked her what she wanted to do with her life. Not her job, her life. She had never been able to answer that question before. But now, something came to her. I want to help people who feel stuck. The way I felt stuck. Tom looked surprised. That's specific. I know. She didn't know how yet. But the desire was real. And for the first time, she believed she could build toward it. Dr. Sato introduced her to Ikigai, the Japanese concept of purpose. Ikigai is not something you find. It's something you cultivate. Through small actions, you discover what brings you joy, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what can sustain you. Kaizen is the path to Ikigai. Sarah started adding new micro-habits aligned with this purpose. She read one article per week about psychology. She listened to one podcast about behavior change during her commute. She reached out to one person in the field every month. Each action was tiny. Chapter 6. Proof of Change. 6 months in, Tom said something that made Sarah stop in her tracks. They were having dinner at home. She had cooked. Something she rarely did before. As they ate, Tom looked at her and said, "You're different." "What do you mean?" "I don't know. You're calmer. More present. You smile more." Sarah realized he was right. She hadn't noticed because the changes had been so gradual. But she was different. She had lost 12 pounds without trying. Not because she had gone on a diet, but because her small habits around food had shifted. She drank more water. She ate breakfast. She cooked more often. She was sleeping better. Her anxiety had decreased. She was more productive at work because she wasn't constantly overwhelmed. But the biggest change was internal. She no longer woke up hating herself. She no longer felt like a failure. She felt capable. Not perfect, but capable. Her journal had become a record of this transformation. She flipped back through the entries. The first page was one sentence. "I sat up today." Now, months later, her entries were longer, more reflective, filled with gratitude and observations. She had proof, not just in her mind, but in her life. Chapter 7. The Complete System. Dr. Sato sat across from Sarah during what would be their final regular session. "You don't need me anymore," he said. Sarah felt a pang of sadness. But she knew he was right. "I want to make sure I understand everything," she said. "Can you explain the full system?" Dr. Sato nodded. Kaizen is built on 5 core principles. Together, they create a philosophy of continuous improvement. He counted on his fingers. 1. Start impossibly small. If you want to read more, read 1 page. If you want to exercise, do 1 push-up. The size of the action doesn't matter. What matters is that you do it consistently. 2. Focus on systems, not goals. Don't aim to lose 20 pounds. Aim to eat 1 vegetable per day. The outcome will follow the system. 3. Embrace imperfection. You will miss days. You will fail. This is not a reason to quit. It's part of the process. Reflect without judgment. And continue. 4. Respect the process. Change takes time. You cannot rush a tree into growing. You cannot rush yourself into transformation. Be patient. Trust the small steps. 5. Build identity, not habits. Don't just do the action. Become the person who does the action. This is how change becomes permanent. Sarah wrote each principle down. "And what if someone tries to do too much too fast?" she asked. Dr. Sato smiled. "Then they will learn the hardest way. But they will learn." The beauty of Kaizen is that it always welcomes you back. No matter how many times you fall. Chapter 8. Long-term transformation. 2 years later, Sarah barely recognized her old life. She had left her marketing job and enrolled in a certification program for life coaching. She was working part-time while building her practice. She had 5 clients. Each one was someone who felt stuck, just like she had. She taught them Kaizen. Her relationship with Tom had deepened. They had moved in together officially and started talking about marriage. He told her once that he fell in love with her twice. Once, when they first met, and again when he watched her transform herself. Her health had stabilized. She exercised regularly, not obsessively. She cooked most of her meals. She had a morning routine that felt effortless because it was built one tiny habit at a time. But the most profound change was her relationship with herself. She no longer needed external validation. She no longer compared herself to others. She knew who she was. And she knew that who she was would continue to evolve. Slowly, steadily. Through small, intentional steps, she kept a photo on her desk. It was from that day 2 years ago when she sat in her car, paralyzed by her own failures. She looked at it sometimes to remind herself how far she had come, not through willpower, not through discipline, but through patience, through compassion, through Kaizen. Chapter 9. The Legacy Moment. One afternoon, Sarah received a message from one of her first clients, a woman named Jenna. Jenna had come to her a year ago, overwhelmed and hopeless. Sarah had given her the same advice Dr. Sato had given her. Start impossibly small. The message read, "I just wanted to say thank you. A year ago, I couldn't even make my bed. Today, I ran my first 5-kilometer race. I know that sounds unrelated, but it's not. Making my bed taught me I could keep promises to myself. And that changed everything. You changed everything." Sarah read the message 3 times. Then she cried, because she understood now. Kaizen wasn't just a technique. It was a way of seeing the world. A belief that small actions mattered, that every person, no matter how stuck, had the capacity for transformation. She thought about Dr. Sato. She hadn't seen him in over a year, but she wrote him an email. She told him about her practice, about Jenna, about how his teaching had rippled out into the lives of others. He replied the next day, "The teacher's job is to light a candle. The student's job is to light others. You are doing well." Sarah printed the email and put it on her wall. Chapter 10. Your turn. So now you know the story. You know how Kaizen works. You know that transformation doesn't require massive leaps or superhuman discipline. It requires one small step. Repeated. Trusted. Honored. But here's the truth. Knowing doesn't change anything. Only doing does. So I'm going to ask you the same question Dr. Sato asked Sarah. What is one part of your day that causes you stress? One thing you've been wanting to change, but haven't, because it feels too big? Now, make it smaller. Make it so small, it feels ridiculous. If you want to exercise, don't commit to an hour at the gym. Commit to 1 push-up. If you want to read more, don't aim for a book a week. Aim for 1 page a day. If you want to eat healthier, don't overhaul your diet. Just drink 1 glass of water when you wake up. 1 action, so small you cannot fail. Do it tomorrow. Then do it again the next day. Don't worry about motivation. Don't worry about whether it's enough. Just do it. Let the identity follow the action. I want you to comment below with your 1 small step. Not a big goal, not a grand plan. Just the tiniest action you're going to take tomorrow. Write it down. Make it real. Because when you commit publicly, even in a small way, you're more likely to follow through. And if you fail, if you miss a day or a week, come back. Read this again. Remember Jenna. Remember Sarah. Remember that falling down 7 times and standing up 8 is the entire point. Kaizen is not a hack. It's not a shortcut. It's a philosophy, a way of life. And it starts with the belief that you are capable of change. Not someday. Not when you're ready. Right now. With the smallest step imaginable. The Japanese have a saying, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. But Kaizen teaches us something even more profound. It's not about the 1,000 miles. It's about the single step, and then the next one, and the next. That's how mountains are climbed. That's how lives are transformed. One small, intentional, imperfect step at a time. So take yours, tomorrow morning, and let me know in the comments what it is. Because I believe in you. Not because I know you, but because I know Kaizen, and I know it works. Now go. Your transformation is waiting, and it starts smaller than you ever imagined. Because I believe in you. Not because I know you, but because I know Kaizen. And I know it works. But I know what some of you are thinking right now. I can hear the voice in your head because it was in mine too. It was in Sarah's. It's the same voice that whispers to everyone who learns about Kaizen for the first time. This is too slow. You're looking at your life right now. Maybe you're 30 pounds overweight. Maybe you're buried in debt. Maybe your relationship is falling apart. Maybe you've been stuck in the same dead-end job for 5 years, and someone is telling you to just sit up in bed, to do one push-up, to read one page. It feels insulting, inadequate, like bringing a glass of water to a forest fire. Sarah felt this too. About 3 weeks into her practice, she came to Dr. Sato frustrated. I'm doing everything you said. I'm sitting up. I'm drinking water. I'm writing one sentence. But I still feel stuck. I'm still the same person. Nothing has really changed. Dr. Sato was quiet for a moment. Then he walked to a window and pointed outside at a bamboo plant in the garden. Do you know how bamboo grows? Sarah shook her head. When you plant bamboo, you water it every day. And for the first year, nothing happens. You see no growth, no shoots, nothing. The second year, still nothing. The third year, nothing. The fourth year, you begin to wonder if the seed was dead, but you keep watering. And then, in the fifth year, the bamboo shoots up 90 feet in 6 weeks. He turned to face her. Was the bamboo growing during those first 4 years? I don't know. Yes, it was. Underground. Building a root system so extensive, so strong, that when it finally broke through the surface, nothing could stop it. This is what is happening to you right now. You cannot see the roots, but they are growing. Sarah wanted to believe him. But doubt is a patient enemy. It waits in the quiet moments. It whispers when you're tired. That night, she almost quit. She lay in bed thinking about all the faster methods, the 30-day challenges, the boot camps, the radical transformations. Maybe she was just taking the coward's way out. Maybe she was making excuses for being lazy. She didn't sleep well. The next morning, her alarm went off. Her hand hovered over the phone. She could just skip today. One day wouldn't matter. Then she remembered something Dr. Sato had said. The moment you want to quit is the moment the transformation is actually beginning. Because you are confronting the old identity, and the old identity will fight to survive. She sat up. She drank her water. She wrote one sentence in her journal. I chose to continue. That was the day she realized something profound. Kaizen wasn't just about building new habits. It was about building a new relationship with resistance, with discomfort, with a voice that says, this isn't enough. Because that voice will never go away. Not completely. But you can learn to hear it and act anyway. Let me show you something that changed how Sarah understood time. Dr. Sato drew a graph on a piece of paper. On one axis was time. On the other was improvement. Most people think change looks like this. He drew a straight line going up at a 45-degree angle. They think if they work hard, they will see steady, linear progress. And when they don't see that line, they quit. He drew another line. This one stayed almost flat for a long time, then suddenly curved upward dramatically. But real change looks like this. This is the compound effect. Small improvements, barely visible at first, but multiplying over time. Let me give you numbers. He wrote on the paper, 1% better every day for a year equals 37 times better. 1% worse every day for a year equals nearly 0. Sarah stared at the numbers. That can't be right. It is. This is mathematics. If you improve by just 1% each day, by the end of the year, you're not 365% better. You're 37 times better. Because each day's improvement builds on the previous day. He leaned forward. Here's what this means practically. When you sit up in bed every morning, you're not just sitting up. You're proving to yourself that you can keep commitments. That proof makes it easier to add the next small habit. That habit makes the next one easier. Each action is 1%. Sarah thought about her last 3 months. Sitting up had led to drinking water. That had led to journaling. Journaling had led to making her bed. Making her bed had led to preparing her clothes the night before. That had led to leaving for work 10 minutes earlier. That had led to being less stressed. That had led to being more productive. That had led to getting a compliment from her boss. That had led to feeling more confident. One action had cascaded into dozens of changes. Not because she had willpower, but because each small success made the next small success more likely. The compound effect is why Kaizen works, Dr. Sato said. And it's why most people fail at change. They want to see the results immediately. But the most powerful results are invisible until they're not. You must trust the process before you see the proof. Sarah started keeping a spreadsheet, not to track outcomes, but to track consistency. Each day she completed her morning routine, she put an X in the box. Nothing more. After 30 days, she had a chain of X marks. She didn't want to break the chain. After 60 days, the chain felt precious. After 90 days, she realized the chain had become more motivating than any result. Because the chain was proof. Proof that she was someone who kept promises to herself. About 8 months into her own practice, Sarah's younger sister called her. They hadn't spoken much in the past year. Life had pulled them in different directions. "I don't know what you're doing, but you sound different," her sister said. "Happier." Sarah told her about Kaizen. About Dr. Sato. About the small steps. Her sister was silent for a moment. "Do you think it could work for me?" "I've been trying to get healthier for years. I keep starting and stopping. I'm exhausted." Sarah felt something shift inside her. This was the first time someone had asked her for help. Not Dr. Sato. Her. "Yes, I know it can work. But you have to start smaller than you think. What's one thing you want to change?" "I want to lose weight. I want to exercise. I want to eat better." "Okay, but pick one, the smallest part of one," her sister thought. "I guess I want to move more. I sit all day at work." "Perfect. Here's your action. Tomorrow, stand up from your desk once. Walk to the window. Look outside for 10 seconds. Then, sit back down. That's it." "That's ridiculous. That won't do anything." Sarah smiled. She had said the exact same thing to Dr. Sato. "I know it sounds ridiculous. But will you try it for 1 week? Just 1 week? Then call me." Her sister agreed, though Sarah could hear the skepticism. A week later, her phone rang. "I did it every day," her sister said. "And you're right. It feels stupid. But I also noticed something. On day 3, I walked to the window twice. Not because I had to. Just because I was already up. And yesterday, I took the stairs instead of the elevator." Sarah's heart swelled. That's the point. You're not trying to become an athlete. You're becoming someone who moves. The identity shift comes first, the results come later. Over the next few months, Sarah's sister continued. She added one small action at a time. She started drinking water before coffee. She started packing a piece of fruit for lunch. She started going to bed 15 minutes earlier. 6 months later, she had lost 18 pounds. But more importantly, she felt in control of her life for the first time in years. Sarah realized something. Teaching Kaizen was reinforcing it in her own life. Every time she explained a principle to someone else, it became clearer in her own mind. Every time she watched someone else struggle with impatience, she remembered her own struggle. This was when she knew coaching was her path. Not because she had all the answers, but because she had walked the road, and she could light the way for others. One thing Dr. Sato had warned Sarah about was the cultural resistance to Kaizen in the West. Your culture worships speed, he said. Fast food, fast results, fast everything. Kaizen asks you to slow down, to trust time. This will feel foreign, even wrong. You must understand that you are not just changing habits. You are changing your relationship with time itself. He was right. At work, everyone talked about hustle, about grinding, about sacrificing now for success later. Her coworkers would brag about working 12-hour days, skipping meals, answering emails at midnight. When Sarah started leaving work on time, one colleague made a comment. Must be nice to coast. She didn't take the bait, but it stung. The truth was, she was more productive than she had ever been. Not because she worked longer hours, but because she worked with intention. She took breaks. She said no to unnecessary meetings. She focused on one task at a time, instead of multitasking into mediocrity. Her boss noticed. Not because she was staying late, but because her work quality had improved. She was making fewer mistakes, meeting deadlines consistently, contributing ideas in meetings instead of staying silent. When she got promoted 6 months later, her colleague, who had made the coasting comment, seemed confused. Sarah understood something that most people don't. Productivity isn't about intensity, it's about consistency. And consistency comes from sustainability. And sustainability comes from starting small. She began to see Kaizen everywhere. In the way a musician practices scales before concerts. In the way a writer writes every day, even when they don't feel inspired. In the way athletes train with micro-progressions, instead of trying to lift the heaviest weight on day one. The best people in any field understood this instinctively. They just didn't call it Kaizen, but calling it something matters. Because when you name a philosophy, you can practice it intentionally. You can return to it when you stray. You can teach it to others. Sarah started noticing moments in her day where she could apply Kaizen thinking. When she felt overwhelmed by a project, she would ask, "What's the smallest next step?" When she felt guilty about not doing enough, she would ask, "What's one thing I can do right now?" When she felt impatient for results, she would ask, "What roots am I building today?" These questions became her compass. Chapter 15, Full Circle. 2.5 years after her first session, Sarah returned to Dr. Sato's office, not as a client, as a colleague. She had invited him to speak at a workshop she was hosting for her coaching clients. 20 people had signed up. 20 people who were exactly where she had been. Dr. Sato arrived early. They had tea together before the others came. "I'm nervous," Sarah admitted. "What if I can't help them the way you helped me?" Dr. Sato smiled. "You are already helping them. You are proof that Kaizen works. And proof is more powerful than advice." The workshop began. Sarah told her story. She showed them her old journal with the one-sentence entries. She explained the principles. She answered questions. Then Dr. Sato spoke. He told them about the history of Kaizen, how it emerged from post-war Japan as a way to rebuild not just factories, but lives. How it was rooted in respect for the individual, the belief that everyone has something to contribute, and that contribution doesn't have to be grand to matter. He told them about Toyota, where Kaizen became a management philosophy, how workers were encouraged to suggest tiny improvements to the assembly line, how those tiny improvements compounded into massive efficiency gains, how the company became a global leader not through radical innovation, but through continuous incremental refinement. But Kaizen is not just for companies, Dr. Sato said. It is for humans. Because humans, like companies, are complex systems. And complex systems cannot be changed through force. They must be guided, gently, patiently, with respect for their current state. He looked around the room. You are all here because you want to change. But I will tell you a secret. You do not need to change. You need to grow. And growth happens in the smallest moments. In the decision to sit up when you want to stay down. In the choice to drink water when you want to skip it. In the commitment to write one sentence when you feel you have nothing to say. Sarah watched the faces in the room. She saw herself in every single one of them. The hope mixed with doubt. The desire mixed with exhaustion. After the workshop, several people approached her. They thanked her. They asked for guidance. One woman, in particular, stood out. Her name was Maya. She was in her 40s, recently divorced, struggling with depression. She told Sarah she had tried everything. Therapy, medication, self-help books. Nothing had worked. "Do you think this could help me?" Maya asked, her voice breaking. Sarah took her hands. "I can't promise it will solve everything. But I can promise that if you take one small step tomorrow, you will be different than you are today. And if you take another step the day after, you will be different again. And over time, those differences add up to a transformation you can't imagine right now." Maya nodded, tears in her eyes. "What should my first step be?" Sarah thought about what Dr. Sato had asked her. "What's one part of your day that feels heavy?" "Mornings. I wake up and I just want to disappear." "Okay, tomorrow morning, when you wake up, I want you to say one thing out loud. Just one sentence. It can be anything. I am awake. It is morning. I am here. Just one sentence. Can you do that?" Maya smiled through her tears. "That's it? That's it." 6 months later, Maya sent Sarah a video. The message said, "It started with one sentence. Thank you for teaching me that I didn't have to fix everything at once. I just had to start." Sarah watched the video 3 times. Then she sent it to Dr. Sato with a message. "The candle is spreading." He replied, "As it should." Now you've heard the full story. You've seen how Kaizen transformed Sarah, her sister, Maya, and countless others. You've learned the principles. You understand the philosophy. But none of it matters if you don't take the first step. So here's what I want you to do right now. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Right now. Think about one area of your life that feels stuck. Just one. Maybe it's your health, your relationships, your career, your mental state, your living space. Pick one. Now ask yourself, what is the smallest possible action I could take in that area? So small that I could do it in under 60 seconds. So small that skipping it would feel harder than doing it. Write it down in the comments. Make it public. Make it real. Because here's the truth about transformation. It doesn't happen in the big moments. It happens in the invisible ones. In the choice to show up when no one is watching. In the decision to keep going when you have no proof it's working. In the faith that small actions compound into extraordinary results. You are one decision away from a different life. Not a perfect life, but a life where you are moving forward instead of standing still. A life where you keep promises to yourself. A life where you become the person you always knew you could be. Take the first step. Then take the next one. And the next. Trust the process. Trust yourself. And remember, the bamboo is always growing, even when you can't see it. Your transformation starts now. And it starts smaller than you ever imagined. Starts smaller than you ever imagined. Starts smaller than you ever imagined. Starts smaller than you ever imagined.